Today on Yester Kitchen, we are going to make one of the most quintessential dishes out of the 70s with a very unique twist. You're going to love it. Let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm Jill and this is Yester Kitchen. We are serving up retro classics with a side of food history. And today's classic, we're talking about quiche. So quiche, huge in the 70s, and we're gonna get into why. But we're gonna make a dish today that is not in a crust baked, but it's more of like a Welsh rabbit. And you don't know about Welsh rabbit, or maybe you guys say Welsh rarebit. Well, I had a whole video right there talking all about which one's right. Hint, I'm wearing rabbit ears. Anyway, back to our quiche. So let's get started on this amazing dish, and of course we're gonna talk about the history of quiche. So I have the first thing you're gonna need for this quiche, which is called quiche on toast, and it's straight out of 1979. Toward the very end of quiche's reign, but that's when people started putting twists on them, and this one is fabulous. So we're gonna need a double boiler, as with many, many recipes in the 60s and 70s require double boilers. They're very commonplace. If you don't have one, no problem. We're gonna do my method. I've done it before. I have a pot right here of just a little bit of water that is simmering. It was simmering. It's kind of simmering. Anyway, it's good enough. And really, the water is just gonna act as a barrier between your bowl and the heat. But if you really don't wanna use this, you can just cook it on super, promise me, super low heat, and you'll be fine. Okay, so here I have my happy little bowl, and in here I have 1 tablespoon of butter. And now it's gonna start melting very slowly, because you just see, there it goes, look at it, it's moving around. You just have that steam going, and to that, we're gonna add 1 cup of shredded Swiss cheese. You can use Swiss or Gruyere. It's kind of like, we're kind of going after a little quiche Lorraine thing. So, got that. Just gonna give it a little teeny weeny stir. And you want this to melt. So while it's melting, quiche. Let's talk about quiche. So quiche comes over to us from France. But what most people don't know is that the French took a German dish that was quiche-like and made it their own into quiche. So it really came by way of France, by way of Germany. But it landed in America, and it landed in America with one of our biggest food pioneers we have ever had, and that would be Ms. Julia Child. It was her mission to make French food accessible to the American home, which is why she started her PBS series back in 1963. And in her very first year, she did quiche Lorraine. And people were like, huh, I could do this. And people started making quiche Lorraine in their house. But that was, mid-60s, and people started making it, and the popularity started building and building and building. And then in the 1970s, brunch was created. Yep, it didn't exist before the 70s. And what a perfect way for quiche to fit in. I mean, quiche fit the bill perfectly, right? You had your eggs, you had your cheese, you had your bacon. And then by then, people were starting to play around with recipes and making different quiches. So it was just brunch perfect. It was easy, it was delicious, and it was French, and people were very obsessed with French food back then. Let me give this a little stir. And yes, you definitely want to use a mitt, because it is hot. Okay, so we're melting nicely. Look at that. But we still have a way to go, so it's a good thing I have more story to tell. People were crazy about quiche in the 70s. By the 80s, our poor little quiche started to lose popularity, and there was a book that came out in 1982 called Real Men Don't Eat Quiche, and that kind of didn't help quiche's cause much, because it was really a satire book on masculinity and how men want to eat, meat and be lumberjacks, and it was just this total satire book. And so quiche it was already starting to fade out of popularity. This just kind of helped it. Now, of course, quiche is still around in wonderful versions, just not as much as the craze of the 70s, but we still love it today. Okay, so back to our happy little bowl. And we are almost melted. While we're waiting for this final melt, what you're gonna need is some toast. So I have 4 slices already toasted. And I'm just gonna go ahead and butter these, and we will be right back. Okay, so last piece of toast is buttered. And yeah, I know, 70s, 50s, 60s food is not that healthy. But you know what, as Julia Childs said, if you don't like butter, use cream. No, seriously, back then, people were out, right? I remember when I was a kid, and I talked, you 70s people, I know you think the same way, we were always told come home when the street lights go on, right? And what were we doing? We were outside riding our bikes, we were running, we were active, we weren't sitting there just exercising our thumbs. So I think it was a balance. Anyway, our cheese is now melted. I'm gonna get this bread out of the way for now. And now we're gonna add the rest of the things and our quiche will be done. See, it's this easy. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna add is 1 cup of hot chicken broth. See, now we're gonna start mixing up. And for this, I'd like to use a whisk. So we're just gonna, we have more things to add, but we're just gonna get this cheese and broth together going so it all kind of starts blending together. Okay, oh God, look at that melted cheese, it looks fabulous. Okay, to that, we're gonna add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. We're gonna add 2 tablespoons of chopped chives. Oh God, fresh chives, so delicious. Got that just real mild oniony taste, but now we're gonna give it a more oniony taste, and we're gonna add 3 tablespoons of grated onion. That was very popular, actually from the 40s all the way to the 70s, and then it kind of died down. Let's give it a little more stir, and when I stir so it doesn't splash out, I am pushing my whisk all the way on the bottom of the bowl. And that way you're kind of keeping your stirring, splashing a little, but you're keeping your stirring in the center. Okay. And then we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of sherry because sherry was huge in the 70s. Oh, and by the way, I brought this on purpose. Grating an onion, seriously, I have a little cheese grater, I have an onion, and I just grate it, and that's really all you do. And then I still have a 1/2 an onion left over that you know I'm gonna use in another recipe. Okay, now we're gonna add just a shake of paprika. Just a tiny bit. And here I have 4 eggs that I'm gonna beat just enough to get them blended. And this mixture is gonna go into our eggs. This mixture is gonna go into our cheese. And we're gonna stir it, and it's gonna kind of start firming up. So you wanna start your whisk, you wanna blend your eggs. And there it goes. Really gently, or else you're gonna be splashing everywhere. Okay, so you're just gonna keep stirring and stirring and stirring until your eggs start to cook, which is gonna firm up your cheese sauce. And I'm just gonna keep stirring for a few minutes, and I will be right back when it's almost done. Okay, so it's been about 2 minutes. See, there's your cheese sauce. It's nice and firmed up. And now we're gonna turn off our fire, get our other little pot out of the way. Hello, 1979, aren't you gorgeous? Okay, got my little plate, and I'm just gonna make 2. There we go. And then you take your cheese sauce, and you do want it thick. This is definitely not a saucy dish. It's supposed to be quiche, right? And quiches are all firmed up. It's just on toast instead of in a crust, and it has this fabulous, oh God, it's so good, you guys. It's so good. Okay. And then you're gonna sprinkle a little bit of paprika on top, because the 70s also love paprika. And then of course, as a nod to our quiche Lorraine, and because I love it so much, we're gonna put a couple pieces of bacon on top. And there you have it, quiche on toast. Look at that, directly from 1979. If you'd like to explore more dishes from your childhood or just the past, I invite you to subscribe. I release new videos every Friday. In the meantime, here's some more retro dishes for you. And remember, every dish, even quiche or any variation, of quiche has a story. I'll see you in the next video.